Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and this is part 2 to the injectors on a 7.3 powerstroke diesel. When you first look at it, you go, the injectors are where? It's like, okay, they're underneath the valve cover, down below, underneath all that stuff. Oh my god, what a job. Well, it's not so bad. So what we're going to do, first thing you want to do is, that's 11 millimeter on your clamps right there. You want to undo one of those right there. And then you want to come back down to right here, and you want to undo that one. And once you undo that clamp right there, this your turbo pipe, you can go ahead and take that out. So once that's out of the way, you have to undo this guy. Torx or a good flathead screwdriver, you're going to go ahead and move him out of the way. So let me get some of this stuff out of there, and then we're going to get the valve cover out. I'll list all the tools you need. Changing out your injectors really isn't that bad once you move some of this stuff out of the way. So let me show you how we got to do it, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, I got one of the turbo pipes off right there, so I'm down to the actual valve cover. Now I've already gone ahead and unbolted it, and I'm just going to tell you why I got it here. Alright, your worst one's going to be this one right here. You got a nut on top of the bolt, so that way hold your oil dipstick on there. Then there's a bolt underneath. It's 13 millimeter all the way throughout. One of the other things I'm going to show you how to do is when your truck's running and say you're sure you think you got an injector bad on this side, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot that. Real simple to do. The other thing, if you're problem getting air in your system, here's a neat little trick you can do. Go up to Lowe's or Home Depot and get some clear line, and you connect the two with some connectors like that from your fuel line to your bowl for your filter is at. Now when your truck's running, if it's full of air, you know you got a problem with a line coming back, which these trucks are known for having a break in the back gas tank. So like quarter tank down, eighth tank down, you'll start sucking air instead of diesel. So that's a good way to tell right there. Clear, you can see it. This one's got fuel in it, so I was just showing you guys how to do that. Let me get the valve cover off, and then I'll show you the next step of taking the injectors out. Alright, valve cover's off. Now, sometimes you will get a burnt wire or a loose connection where it goes into your valve cover, which goes into your gasket, which is actually what runs, it's your wiring harness to all your injectors. So you go, okay, I think I've got an injector problem on this side, and each side's called a bank. So this is your passenger bank or your left bank. Now what you're going to do is, say you got it running, I usually will wiggle the wiring harness up here, okay, got it right there, and if it makes no change, the next step is you come down and right here, and you just pop the clip and slide it down. See that? It's out of the way right here. And if you notice the truck stumbles big time, then you know that's a working injector. If you unplug it and no difference, then you got a dead injector. Now if it was working perfect, then you just simply, while it's running, you simply just plug it back in, clip it on like that, and you move to the next one. Unclip and slide it down. Just watch your fingers and stuff like that. All it's got to do is slide down a little bit, and it's repeat. If the truck stumbles, then you know it's a working injector. If it doesn't stumble, then you go from there. Now, before you get to taking the valve covers off, let me hint on a little trick. I take a digital thermometer, and when the truck's cold, I will shoot the exhaust manifold, and what I'll do is I'll get a reading and see what the temperature is. Say if it starts out at 62 degrees, then I'll fire the truck up. Well, if you see the ones jumping up to 100 degrees real quick and one staying at 70, well, then you kind of have an idea where to start on looking. If the front cylinder right here is saying that it's only at 70 degrees and the other ones are at 90, 95, 100 degrees, then you know you got something wrong with this front injector, and you want to test it first by unplugging it. Or even on this side, you know, either way you can test either bank and find out which side it's coming out, left or right. You'll get a reading off that exhaust. So that's a little trick. Let me go ahead and unbolt this. First thing we're going to do is, this is your deflector right here, that little guy right there. Let's see if we get a better view on this one right here. This one right here. All you're going to do is remove that little 8mm bolts that are underneath here, and we got one in the back down here. And all you're going to do is loosen these little guys up, and then I'll show you how to pop these out pretty easy. So let me go ahead and get some of this stuff loosened up, and then we'll go from there. Now in the manual it tells you to go ahead and see that little bolt right there. Let me see if I can point to it. That guy right there, it's a little Allen bolt. They say to go ahead and unbolt that. There's two of them. There's one in the front of the head, and there's one right about right here. So just in front of your back injector, and it recommends you go ahead and take those out to drain the rails. So I went ahead and I got the injectors loose. Let me show you a little trick. All you gotta do, once you remove the actual deflector, just unbolt the back bolt. Let's see if I can get one right here. Unbolt the back bolt right here, and you can slide the mount forward, and it'll come right off. And here's an injector right here. So there's the injector, and as you see, the bolt is still in there, so that way you don't have to remove it right here. So now, like I said, these injectors right here, I've got one that was bad, so it was pretty much just peeing diesel. So we pulled it out. I've got a new injector going in. Yeah, one of the other things too that works really good is I use one of these, and I put it on the back side, and I will use it to pretty much help pop the injector out. So let me go ahead and get the rest of the injectors out, and we'll get it ready to reset up. It's getting dark on me, so I gotta set some lights up. Alright, decided to go ahead and come back the next day instead of setting up the lights, but what we're going to do is make sure whatever you do not turn the key on. If you turn the key on, it will turn the fuel pump on, and it will flood the rail that's in your head, and with the injectors out, all that will go into your cylinders. Now right now you do have oil in your cylinders, and you also have fuel in your cylinders. So once we get these in, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the motor over with the front pulley bolt and get the all the liquid out of the cylinders before you actually turn it over with the key. If you were to just go in there and turn it over, it'd be hydrolocked, and you run the chance of actually breaking a piston, bending a rod, which will break a rod. You can do all sorts of damage. So we're not going to do that. So anyways, let me get some injectors put in. I've got them all set and ready to go. They're right here, and all we're going to do is sit them in there. Now if you remember where the bolts are, let me point out the bolt there. Alright, where your bolt is right here, all you gotta do is I loosened it up pretty good, but you want to tighten it up just enough so you can get the injector to go in and pretty much slide right over that. And once you know you can slide, once that bolt goes in, see it's already slid over it, then you can tap it down. Now you can tap it like this with your hand. I use the back end of a hammer, the rubber part, or you can use a mallet and just gently tap it down. So let me go ahead and pull that deflector off. This was off one of my other injectors. I forgot to pull the deflector off. So let me get that off, and then we're going to tap this into place, tighten it up, and finish putting the other ones in. Now I've got two of the injectors already in, as you see. Now one of the other things too, when I was telling you about the liquid, your diesel and some oil that went into your cylinders, you technically can pull out the glow plugs and turn the motor over that way and blow it out, but it's going to make a big mess up under the hood, and then you've got oil in there and diesel in there, and then that's going to end up coming up into your tray up here, or your top of your head, which will go right back into your oil. So really not the way I would do it. Like I said, I turn it over by hand until it turns over pretty easily. So the other thing too is, while you're in here, it's a good time to check your glow plugs. Ohm them out. I'll put the ohms up on the video so you'll know what to ohm your glow plugs out, and they're right, let me show you where one. See the white wires? Okay, the white wire right here, when you unplug it, that is your glow plug. So it's right here. I mean, it's real easy to do, and the best thing to do is just to check it when you're in there, and go from there. So that's back one. That's what you want to do while you're in here. So you got to make sure, check your connectors right there. We'll ohm out your glow plugs just to make sure everything's working. If not, just replace them. I don't go with cheap aftermarket glow plugs. I've heard too many horror stories about them breaking and falling back into the motor. So let me finish getting the other two in. We're going to start it up. I'm going to show you what I was telling you about, how to test your injectors and see which ones are firing and what to listen for. On a quick note, I also wanted to tell you something too. If you go to put the deflector back in and you can't move your bolt like this, and it's like really hard, and you're touching the top, which is your solenoid up here, then what it is you've got the front bolt too high up, and the bracket that holds your injector in is at an angle, and it's pushing this back, this bolt, into the solenoid up here. So you'll have to undo all that, loosen the back bolt up, and retighten it in. You should be able to spin this bolt this freely for your deflector until you have to snug it down. So if you run into that problem, that's what it is. Don't keep going, because you're going to mess stuff up and break things. So you can, that's like a little ceramic type of setup with that on that solenoid. So you crack it or break it, it's done. So anyways, you don't need to be forcing on anything on that part. So that's something you got to watch for. Alright, let me finish getting these other two in, and then we're going to turn the motor over by hand. I'll show you where to go for that, and then we're going to start it up. Alright guys, as you can see, the injectors are in. So all four, they're already torqued in there. I'm going to put the torque specs in the description so that you'll know the ohms for the glow plugs. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and go underneath the truck, and we're going to turn it over by the crank. So let me go get my big ratchet, and we're going to go ahead and turn this bad boy over until we don't have any more like I said, what you want to do is turn this over. Make sure you do several times. As you can see, 15/16 on the bolt up there, on the pulley bolt. So, and you can, when you hear the liquid in there pushing out, there's some compression going out too. But what you want to do is just do that. I go around 4 or 5 times each way actually. Or if you hit resistance where it like literally stops like a wall, don't force it, go back the other way, come back around, do it a couple times so you can do it all the way throughout. Now on the diesels, you're going to have a little bit of compression, so which I ran into normal. So just keep going until you can clearly go through and you know you got no resistance, and then do light turnovers at first. Don't try to do a full go at it with the key. Just do it real gingerly until you know you've got a couple where it turned over a few times, and that way you're not going to bend a rod. But let's go ahead and start this bad boy up. I've got it turned over already, so, and then we'll go back to, I'm going to show you a real quick way to test an injector.